Hello friends, an animal which was extinct 13,000 years ago, the dire wolf, has come back to Earth with the help of genetic engineering. This claim is being made by Colossal Biosciences company, a company which claims that in the future it will de-extinct many such popular extinct animal species. Like Tasmanian tiger, which was once found in Australia, Dodo bird, which was extinct in Mauritius in 1600s, or woolly mammoth, the relatives of big elephants which were once found in the snow, which were extinct 4,000 years ago. The dire wolf, which was the first successful attempt of this company to de-extinct an animal, is a species of wolf which was made popular by Game of Thrones TV show. Many main characters of this show had dire wolves as their pets. Inspired by this, the two dire wolves which were born by this company were named Romulus and Remus. This entire project was done in a secret location in America. Here you can see in this video, they are having fun in the sun. It's been 5 months now. These children don't even realize how unique they are. They were born in an age where no other member of their species is present. Not only this, a third dire wolf was also born with them, which was a female, and the name of the company was Khaleesi. At first glance, everything looks amazing, but many people have raised questions here. The claims of this company are false. Many experts say that the dire wolf has not been brought back, but a genetically engineered version of a normal wolf has been made. How is all this done? Let's understand this topic in depth in today's video. It's the year 1854. In America, near the Ohio River, for the first time, humans had found the fossils of the dire wolf. In 1858, American scientist Joseph Letty said that this animal should be put in the Canis genus. And from here, it was given the scientific name Canis dirus. It means a scary dog. All the animals in the Canis genus are like dogs, wolves, or deer. Then in 1918, a scientist, John Merriam, was studying the fossils of the dire wolf in Los Angeles tar pits. And he said that this animal is very different. It should not be put in the Canis genus. There should be a separate genus for it. But at that time, his claim was ignored. After that, for the next 100 years, people believed that the dire wolf was a close relative of gray wolves and modern wolves. But in 2021, a study is published in the Nature journal which completely changes people's understanding of the dire wolves. By studying the fossils in detail, it was found that the dire wolves are very different from modern wolves. About 57 lakh years ago, they separated from the other wolf species. In this study, it was also found that the dire wolves lived for a long time with gray wolves and coyotes in North America. But there was no interbreeding between them. No genes were mixed. And then, about 13,000 years ago, all the dire wolves extinct from the earth. But the gray wolves remained. What was the reason behind this? Exactly, no one knows. But it is believed that because the dire wolves hunted big animals, the animals they hunted became extinct. That's why they also became extinct. Another theory that explains their extinction is that they couldn't interbreed like the gray wolves. And that's why they couldn't adapt to the environment. If you compare it with modern wolves, the size of the dire wolves is about 25% bigger. In Game of Thrones, the dire wolves are shown to be very big. They are shown to be as big as a lion. But in reality, they weren't that big. Although it is true that their heads were longer and wider than other wolves, and their jaws muscles were very powerful. They had light gray hair on their bodies. And like modern wolves, they also lived in packs, which made it easier to hunt other animals. Now the question is about de-extinction. How did this company de-extinct a dire wolf? De-extinction means the opposite of extinction. To bring something back from extinction. Mainly, it can be done in 3 ways. The first way is backbreeding. In this, one of the living relatives of an extinct species is selected for an animal which still has some of the traits of the previous species. Then, by breeding them, the old characteristics are slowly brought back to the same animal. A real-life example of this is the quagga project. Look at this photo. This animal is called quagga. It looks like a zebra from the front, but its stripes disappear from the back, and it looks like a horse. It was a species found in South Africa, which became extinct in 1883 due to hunting. People hunted it and killed it completely. The photo you see on the screen is the only photo in history that has been taken of quagga. It was taken before it became extinct. But then in 1987, some scientists started the quagga project to de-extinct it. Here, they found such zebras who had less stripes on their bodies, especially in the back part. And then they started selective breeding. The children born in every generation are bred with less striped zebras, and the children born to them are also selected with the least stripes. In this way, after 20 years and 3 generations, such zebras were born, which looked exactly like quaggas. You can see the status of the quagga project on their website today. This is the photo of the first generation taken in 1987. The zebra had less stripes. And in 2022, this photo in which this zebra looks almost like a quagga. This process is called backbreeding. But a question arises here. Does looking like a quagga really make an animal a quagga? There must be some traits in a real quagga that we don't know about. And this is the disadvantage of backbreeding. This animal may look like an old one, but it's not necessary that its genes are exactly the same as those of the extinct species. The second technique of de-extinction is cloning. By cloning, an animal's exact genetic copy can be made. But to do this, an extinct species must have a genetic copy. What is done here is that the nucleus of the cell is removed and put in the eggs of a nearby species. It sounds difficult to do, and it is difficult. That's why it was the first time in 1996 that an animal was cloned. Dolly the sheep. You must have read about her in school books.
Her name is Dolly, 7 months old. She may not be the monster imagined in a science fiction fantasy, yet the cuddly Finn Dorset lamb may represent a major landmark in the history of genetic engineering.
But for de-extinction, cloning was used for the first time in 2000. There was a Spanish sheep species named Bocardo that was very endangered. On January 6, 2000, the last sheep of this species died, and this animal became extinct. But about a year before its death, scientists took samples of its cells. These samples were kept safely in cold storage. That's why they were able to attempt cloning here. They removed the nucleus of the cells and put it in the eggs of 57 different sheep. Its success rate is not high because only 7 of them were pregnant and 6 were miscarried. Only 1 sheep gave birth to 1 baby. But this 1 baby was born with a lung defect and died after 10 minutes. That's why this Bocardo is said to be an animal that was extinct twice. And from here, you can guess how difficult it is to clone. Now let's come to the third process of de-extinction, which is genetic engineering. It is considered to be the newest and most promising method. Scientists use a fossil. Fossils can preserve the DNA of dead animals for thousands of years. This is a very natural way of data preservation. In this, scientists extract the DNA of an extinct species from the fossils of dead animals and study them. They find out exactly which genes were present in that extinct animal and compare them to their closest living relatives. After this, they use DNA editing to change the genes in the cells of the living relative and make them like the genes in the extinct species. These changed cells are further processed in cloning. They are put in a living animal so that the living animal has a baby with new cells and genes. In this process, there are 2 major challenges. The first one is that it is very difficult to get the correct DNA of the extinct animal. When thousands of years old fossils are found in the soil, they are very broken. The DNA present in them is also very broken. The second challenge is that when DNA editing is done, changing the DNA in millions is not an easy task. In 2021, a billionaire in America, Ben Lamb, and a renowned geneticist, George Church, started a company called Colossal Biosciences. Their only goal was de-extinction. Their flagship project is to bring back the woolly mammoth, which has been extinct for 4,000 years.
Waiting for the right moment.
I talked about this in the beginning of the video. They also want to bring back the Tasmanian tiger and Dodo bird. But these 3 animals have big challenges. The closest living relative of the woolly mammoth is the Asian elephant. But the pregnancy of the Asian elephant is 22 months longer than that of any mammal. The special thing about the Tasmanian tiger was that it was a marsupial. Like kangaroos, it had pouches. To give birth to its baby, an artificial womb had to be created, which could be very difficult. The problem with the dodo bird is that it laid eggs like other birds. It is difficult to manipulate the genes because of these eggs. In 2023, this company had a meeting where everyone was discussing which animal would be the best to test the de-extinction process. And this is where the name direwolf came up. In comparison to other animals like cats, dogs, and cats, direwolf is a species which is very famous in pop culture. Apart from Game of Thrones, it is also mentioned in World of Warcraft and Dungeons & Dragons. That's why they chose this animal, thinking that by choosing the direwolf, it would get more publicity. In the summer of 2023, the team of Colossal Biosciences started working on the direwolf project. The first challenge was to get the highest quality DNA of the direwolf. For this, two most promising samples were found. One fossil was found in the Sheridan Cave of Ohio, a piece of a direwolf's tooth which was 13,000 years old. And the second fossil was found in Idaho, in the American Falls Reservoir, a skull of a 70,000-year-old direwolf skull. With these two fossils, they started doing gene sequencing. They found so much data in these two samples, which was 500 times more than the old data. It's not like they got the entire genome of the direwolf. They got some parts of its DNA. They didn't publicly reveal exactly how much DNA they got from the fossils. The next step was to compare the DNA of the direwolf with the DNA of the gray wolf. According to this company, the gray wolf is the closest relative of the direwolf. The DNA of these two animals is 99.5% similar. This makes it easier because if any gene in the gray wolf does one thing, the same gene is expected to work in the DNA of the direwolf. The third step is to decide which genes will be changed in the DNA of the gray wolf so that it becomes like the direwolf. They chose 14 genes to change, and these were the genes that focused on the external features. For example, the size of a wolf, the size of its head, the color of its fur, how fluffy it will be. Fourthly, they used gene editing to bring these changes in the genes. The exact technology used here is called CRISPR, Cas9 technology. How does CRISPR gene editing exactly work? This is a very complex topic, and a separate video can be made on it. This process is also called genetic scissors because, in a way, it works like a scissor. And the technology of CRISPR, Cas9, is that in the year 2020, French scientist Emmanuel Charpentier and American scientist Jennifer Doudna were awarded the Nobel Prize. This company used gene editing to change 20 of the 14 genes of the gray wolf and grow thousands of modified cells in the lab. In mid-2024, the next step was to remove the nuclei of the cell from the edited genome cells. On the other hand, they took the egg cells of the dog and removed the nuclei from those egg cells and put this nuclei in their egg cell and planted 45 embryos in 2 dogs. Only 2 of these embryos developed. Then comes October 1st, 2024, and a C-section is done on these pregnant dogs, which gives birth to small puppies. Earlier, they wanted to give birth naturally, but the concern was that the size of the diarrhea was too big. Children can be born too big, and it won't be good for the pregnant dog. On this day, 2 direwolves were born named Romulus and Remus. They were the mythological founders in the first days of their lives. The direwolf puppies drank the milk of their surrogate mothers who gave birth to them. But this milk wasn't enough to meet their metabolic needs. Later, they were given milk from a bottle. Technically, the 2 direwolf puppies are clones of each other, because exactly the same DNA is present in their cells. But the interesting thing here is that despite being a pair, they were behaving differently. Remus was braver and Romulus was shy. This is not surprising. When people hear the word clone, they imagine 2 people who look exactly the same and behave the same. But in reality, this is not the case. Even if your entire DNA is the same, your behavior and personality can be different, because a lot depends on the environment in which you grew up. Apart from this, even the same genes can emerge in different ways. Different traits can be reflected. It is next to impossible to predict which gene is turning on and which is turning off. The same thing is said for extinct animals. How an animal turns out depends not only on its DNA, but also on its mother. It also depends on the environment around it. How is its diet? How are the microbes in its body? There are a lot of factors here that make an individual organism an organism. Anyway, coming back to our story, on January 30th, 2025, a female direwolf is born. The owner of this company, Ben Lamb, says that only these 3 will be allowed to breed. His company will make only 3 to 5 such animals from genetic engineering. They will be kept in their preserves with a 10-foot high security fence and drone surveillance. Only the billionaires who come to meet them will get a chance. Think from the perspective of these dire wolves. They are at an age when their parents usually teach them to hunt. But it's obvious that they don't have parents and they have never seen other wolves. Their entire life will be spent in a highly controlled environment, which will be very different if you compare it to the extinct dire wolf. After 10 to 20 years, when these wolves die, they may become another species, extinct for the second time. Scientifically, this is a big achievement, but the criticism is also justified. Because the real meaning of de-extinction is not to bring an animal back to life as a showpiece, to take pictures with it, to entertain it. It means to give it a place in our ecology, to give it the same ecological role that it used to play at one time. Like the woolly mammoth used to help to maintain the grasslands of Siberia. At that time, it was a very important part. The question is that if an animal like the dire wolf is brought back to life, is there a place for it in our ecological balance? The people who support it say that it was a big hunting animal, and today there is a shortage of hunting animals. So by bringing back the dire wolf and leaving it in our jungles, this balance will be restored, especially in America where it used to live. But when a private company spends millions of dollars to bring this animal back, what do you think? Is it to restore the balance in the ecology or for its own benefit? It is highly likely that it will be kept as a showpiece in a zoo where it will be a source of entertainment for the people. The question here is that the dire wolf is an animal that has naturally extinct in which humans didn't have a big role. The climate change that we saw 10,000 years ago, the natural changes in our ecosystem, this animal has extinct because of it. So is there a place for it in today's ecosystem? The animals that were hunted by the dire wolf have themselves extinct. If they are left in the jungles again, they will hunt those animals that are hunted by the dire wolf and other wolves. For the food source, there will be competition between these two wolves, and maybe the same thing will happen again, which happened 13,000 years ago. The extinction of the dire wolf. And all this I am assuming that it is actually a dire wolf. But is it actually a dire wolf? The answer to this is maybe not. It is a genetically engineered version of the gray wolf. A gray wolf in which 14 genes have been changed. But how many genes are there in a genome? This number is in millions. Even 0.0001% genes have not been changed here. If a gray wolf and a dire wolf have a 99.5% match in their DNA, then the new dire wolf will have a 99.5% match compared to this old extinct species of the dire wolf. Because if we want to make exactly the same extinct animal, then we should know its entire genome. And we will have to make thousands of changes in the genes to make exactly the same animal. If we talk about making the same animal, think about it. 98.8% DNA matches in chimpanzees and humans. Some scientists have said that they have made 14 changes in the chimpanzee DNA to make it look like a human. Does this mean that it has become a human? Not at all. We need to use these technologies and money on those species which are still alive but are on the verge of extinction. We should focus on saving those species which already have a place in today's ecosystem, like northern white rhinos. In 1970, more than 500 northern white rhinos were found in Africa. But today, only 2 are left. Only 2. And they have also become old. After their extinction, the northern white rhino species will disappear from the earth forever. Evolution, which took millions of years to make, is dying due to the greed of humans. There is a discussion among scientists about how to save these rhino species by using these modern technologies. But the problem is that we only regret when something is completely extinct. There are thousands of endangered species which can still be saved without using these technologies. We just need to save our jungles. From our leaders. From the friends of our leaders and their law enforcement agencies. Scientists are doing their job honestly, but what about the rest who don't do their job properly? In May 2019, a United Nations report said that there are more than 10 lakh species of plants and animals which are on the verge of mass extinction today. If we save these species today, then in the future, they won't need to be de-extinct. There is a saying, an ounce of prevention is worth a pound of cure. Thank you very much. That's all for today. Let us know how you liked the video in the comments below. See you in the next new interesting video. Until then, take care.